Hey Tackle Warehouse, what's up? Justin Lucas hanging out with you, and I want to share with you guys a new bait designed specifically to be optimized using forward facing sonar. This is the new Berkley Power Switch. Let's get into the details. First thing you're going to notice, and one thing that I really like because I feel like this makes it look the most lifelike as possible, is having that jig head built into the body. So you don't have an exposed jig head hanging outside the front of the bait like you would with any other soft bait. What that's going to allow you to do, well, number one, it's going to look way more lifelike, of course, but it's also going to allow you to catch a lot more fish on one bait. You can really beat this thing up on a lot of fish, and you're going to catch 10, 20 fish on one bait, which is awesome. Second thing is this little spade tail on the back. That's one of the ways that this bait has a ton of action. And then the other thing is the head. You see the wide head there? That also gives this bait a ton of action. We're gonna break down those techniques in a minute, but there's so many different options you have. Last thing I'll say, of course, it is the jig head's built inside. It's a Fusion 19 hook, and you see that the eye is actually pulled back quite a bit from the front of the bait. And that is also another characteristic that this bait has to give it some of these actions that we're going to talk about. This bait is available in a wide variety of sizes, everything from a 1.75 inch to a 5 inch, of course, different weights in there as well. And it's also available not only in the regular Powerbait colors, but the HD colors, which I love because that is going to make this bait look the most lifelike as possible. I mean, to me, it just looks like a little minnow that's swimming by the boat. I would eat it. So let's break down the techniques, guys. Of course, hovering is number one. Hovering is just keeping a straight tail bait above the fish's head, maybe giving it a little bit of action, but more of a reeling and real subtle action. Number two, of course, is Demiki rig action, snapping, ripping, vertical jigging. You can dock shoot this very easily. It skips great. Straight retrieve, yo-yoing, bouncing off the bottom, scurrying off the bottom, under a bobber even if you want, and twitching and more. So guys, lots going on here, but most importantly, let's just get out on the water and show you how I like to fish it. All right guys, so we're out here looking for fish right now. We are kind of in the middle of summer. These fish are super focused on top out here. I wouldn't call this the best case scenario for this bait, but my favorite time of year to throw this would be more late fall, winter, when those fish they get balled up in those drains, right? They get really focused on that bait that's in 20 to 50 feet of water. And I'm gonna chase around in those drains, chase around fish. So I'm gonna be watching forward facing sonar, looking for fish, throwing at them. And number one thing is always watching it fall down and keeping this bait above those fish's heads. You do not ever want to let it go beneath them. If you let it go beneath them, your chances of getting bit go down dramatically. We've actually got one chasing it right now. You can see that on the screen at 60 feet. But what's really cool about the bait, guys, is how versatile you can be with it, right? And you got to watch the mood of the fish on the graph. See how they're reacting. Are they really lethargic? Are they chasing the bait hard? If they're chasing the bait hard, you can give it a lot harder snaps, you know, keep that bait up above their head, be more aggressive with it. If they're not, you can let the bait, you know, fall down closer to them and just a lot smaller snaps. But what's cool is it'll stay a long ways from the boat, which is key with forward facing sonar. If you guys have been fishing with it, you know, keeping that bait a far ways away from the boat is going to help you get more bites. When it comes to gear I use on the Power Switch, most of the time, I would say 90% of the time for me, I'm gonna be using the 3-inch or even smaller. So I'm gonna be using a spinning rod. Anything that's probably a 7-foot medium, you wouldn't really want a 7-foot medium heavy. That's gonna be getting too big for the hooks on these things. So 7-foot medium, medium light, maybe on the little guy, but a 7-foot medium would be your best all around. Now the one that I'm using is a 7'1". It's a medium fast, and this is the Bait Finesse new Xenon rod from Abu Garcia. So the key, doesn't matter what rod you pick, the key is having a nice soft tip so that you can snap and jig this bait and give it the action that it needs. When you break down the reel that I use, I'll always use a 3000 size reel, 3500, 3000, 350, whatever you want to call it, but you want that mid-range spinning reel size. I love this size because it picks up the most amount of line per turn. So you're gonna see me using this reel on almost everything I throw a spinning rod with. This is a Xenon MGX 3000 MS, so it is a really nice high-end luxury reel, and it makes it a joy to fish this thing. It's just very, very free, very smooth, and the drag is just super, super soft, super nice. When you break down the line, 6 or 8 pound braid is probably what you want. I personally like 6, but this braid has a 12 or 13 pound break strength at 6 pounds, so it's really stronger than 6. But smaller braid is gonna give you further casting distance, get this bait farther away from the boat, so you can optimize that forward facing on the front of your boat. And then of course, anywhere from 8 to 12 feet of a fluorocarbon leader. 6 or 8 pound is what you really want to shoot for. 10 if you're trying to keep the bait up, maybe a little bit higher. And then of course, all these sizes we talked about are the 1.75 to the 3 inch. That's all the spinning rod sizes. If you guys want to bump up to the 4 or 5 inch, you're going to be looking at heavier baits, bigger hooks, so you need to switch over to some bait casting gear. I hope you guys enjoyed it. All this stuff is available on tacklewarehouse.com, and get you a Berkley Power Switch, get you some forward facing sonar, go out there and enjoy it, have fun.